But you can't assume that everybody knows what's happening on Instagram, because allegedly in 2016 they had made some racist comments. The case eventually got redrawn from court. Whenever things get redrawn like this, I'm like, did they settle out of court? Did people get threatened? Did people change their minds? Were people lying in the first place? It doesn't just sit well with me, especially being who I am and just being the color that I am. I have never purchased anything from them because of this particular controversy. And even when they came and made their apology, it was, a bit, allegedly. A few of them, I've let them go today because I'm still doing my research. I'll still come back for those ones.
Alright, quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Hey Bambi, welcome back to the channel. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and become part of the family. Today's video, in today's video, I will be talking about some of the most controversial fragrance houses. These are fragrance houses that have had a bit of a story. They've had a bit of a page or two. They've been front and center in the middle of a bit of controversy. Some of them have come out on the other side. Some of them are still neck deep in the middle of it. But if you want to hear about some of these brands, without further ado, let's get right into the video. Disclaimer, disclaimer. Everything in this video is alleged. Allegedly. That's out of the way. Let's get into it. The fragrance houses I'll be talking about on this list, some of them you would say that good publicity, bad publicity, any form of publicity is good publicity, and then for some others the controversies surrounding them have caused them more damage than good. The first fragrance house on this list, it's not just a fragrance house, it's a designer house, is Balenciaga. Balenciaga is no foreigner to each and every one of us. Well, not everybody. You can't assume that everybody knows what's happening on Instagram, because sometimes these things don't make their way to the conventional, traditional sort of media. Balenciaga is a designer house. They have dabbled into the world of perfume. I do have one of their perfumes. I did a video a couple of months back, well, a month ago, depending on when this video comes out, about the controversial advertisement that they released. I think it was in November or December 2022, where they had used children and they should not have. And even when they came and made their apology, it was, a bit, rather than taking responsibility, they were pushing the responsibility to other people. It has been quite tricky with Balenciaga, to be honest. I don't even know if they have fully come back. They deleted all of their Instagram posts, they deleted all of the advertisements. Yes, they have definitely been in the middle of controversy. It's quite fresh, it's fresh wound at the moment. People are still not over how much they goofed. They have people who have said cancel them, burn everything that you own that is Balenciaga. I have said to my own personal view about Balenciaga. Go watch that video, you'll hear what I think about continuing to buy from them or not buying from them. Balenciaga definitely made the news in 2022 as one controversial fragrance house. It is a designer house, but obviously they make fragrances, so yeah. Number 2 fragrance house on the list is Bond Number 9. I have never purchased anything from them because of this particular controversy. They are very distinct because all their perfume bottles are in like a star shape. Allegedly in 2016 they had made some racist comments to, I think, their employees.
Follow for follow, or follow for follow. Follow the follower that just followed. Follow in Jesus' name. Follow now.
The case eventually got redrawn from court. I don't know why. Whenever things get redrawn like this, I'm like, did they settle out of court? Did people get threatened? Did people change their minds? Were people lying in the first place? I don't know. But it doesn't just sit well with me, especially being who I am and just being the color that I am. Like, if I find out that a fragrance house has had such controversy, just makes it a bit more difficult for me to want to buy into that. I know that different people take things differently. Some people are quicker to forgive. Some people, as far as something does not affect them, it doesn't affect them, because as you don't know what you don't know. But for me personally, I think the case was about $3 million that they were sued for, and it was eventually withdrawn. The next fragrance on this list that had some controversy surrounding it is Black Opium. I know that Black Opium is one of the most talked about, in fact, butt of the joke on TikTok, on perfume TikTok. People are like, Black Opium, Black Opium. But a lot of people don't even know that Black Opium has actually always been a controversial perfume, because the original version of Black Opium, before we now know what it is that is Black Opium, used to be opium. It was just opium. That fragrance was released in the 1970s. The problem was the name of the fragrance, opium, which is, you can almost link it to like opioid drugs. That fragrance came under attack because it became the target of the American Coalition Against Opium and Drug Abuse. It demanded a public apology. Yves Saint Laurent had to come out and issue an apology for even using the name in the first place. It got relaunched later in the 2000s, and I think that was when it got its new name, Black Opium. But even at that did not stop Black Opium from being the front and center of controversy, because they then did an advertisement that was highly sexual, or sexualizing a woman, and it became one of the most complained about advertisements on TV. I don't know if that advertisement eventually got taken down, but it was one of the most complained about advertisements on TV. And to see that in modern era, when I mean modern era, I'm talking about 2022, 20, you know, we're now in 23, but in 2022, 2021, since I became very hot on fragrances, people are always going on and on about Black Opium. Black Opium is always the butt of the joke. Just to see that this particular fragrance has suffered from the beginning of its time when it was opium to now that it's Black Opium. The fragrance is still seeing shaggy, and it has been one of the most controversial fragrances in the fragrance industry. Finally on this list, I had to include this fragrance because, not necessarily because it had controversy surrounding it, even though the fragrance house has had controversies surrounding it, but because for me personally it's controversial because it is a fragrance that, it's a fragrance line or house that I personally, it doesn't just go with me. I just find their fragrances very overpowering. It is Chanel. Chanel has had its own fair share as well. I think in the olden days, that's the way I can say it, and based on the research I've done, the way it was seen was any woman that smelled very floral or fragrances that were dominated by one perfume note was seen as a woman of a more noble character. That was a more respected woman. Any woman who wore fragrances that were too overpowering, that were a combination of too many complex notes, like let's say civet and those sort of animalic notes, was not taken seriously. Of course, Chanel, with all the history there, which I will not dabble into, took advantage of that and started to make fragrances that were heavily floral based. They would have either very heavy rose notes or jasmine notes, just focused on fragrances that had very strong floral notes, and women bought into it. People loved it. It also moved away from very sexual fragrances to more floral, feminine type fragrances. For me personally, Chanel fragrances are very harsh. I find them very grown. I personally cannot stomach, I can't wear them, and that's why it's on this list. It's not because there's any controversy. It hasn't, I don't know that Chanel fragrances have been in the news for anything, but the reason I included Chanel on this list is just because I find their fragrances very, very overpowering, and the story behind how they even got there in the first place, I'm just like, Anyways, there you have it. Go ahead and let me know, did you know any of the things that I have said on this video? Did you know that opium, Black Opium that you know today, was once opium and was in trouble because it was linked to drugs? Did you know that? Did you know about the Bond number 9 situation? Go ahead and let me know. And if there are any other controversies around fragrance houses, there are a few of them, I've let them go today because I'm still doing my research. I'll still come back for those ones. Go ahead and let me know if there are any other controversies surrounding fragrance houses that you know about. Also, go ahead and do all of that good stuff, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Guys, please like, please share, please subscribe. And until I see you again in my next video, because I look forward to seeing you again in my next video, stay beautiful, stay blessed. Hi and bye.
I think I present my best.
In today's video, I will be talking about some of the most controversial fragrance houses. Finally on this list, it became one of the most, and they were sued for Now you all know, I think it was, but number 2 fragrance house on the, allegedly in 2016 I think, but yeah, number 2 fragrance house on the list. People throwing you know, the controversial about the fact. Hey Bambi. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
If I don't want you here.